Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for the UPS Forwarding Hub Online Freight Shipping Made Easy webinar. Before I introduce our speakers today, here are just a few quick administrative updates. This meeting is being recorded and will be sent out via email to everyone who registered after the event. We encourage your participation and would like to ensure that we answer your questions, so please make use of the Q&A function that can be found at the bottom of your screen at any point during the call. We will try our best to answer your questions live on the call through that Q&A function, or if necessary, we'll contact you privately after the call. If you would like to schedule a one-on-one Forwarding Hub tutorial for you or your business following this call, please fill out the request form that will be sent out via email after the event. And my name is Natalie Mayer, and I will be your host for today. I am the Senior Content Strategist here at UPS, and it is an honor to introduce you to all of our speakers for the call. Allison Schaefer, who is our Digital Application Director within UPS Global Freight Forwarding. Allison prioritizes understanding customer needs and expectations to drive site design and functionality. Allison holds 2 Bachelor of Arts degrees in Journalism and Public Relations, as well as Spanish from the University of Georgia. We're very lucky to have her here today. Our other speaker is Michael Shimp, who's our Senior Marketing Manager within UPS Global Freight Forwarding. Mike works with our customers and our partners to ensure that UPS has the right level of support to ship their freight with ease. Mike holds a Master's of Business Administration degree with a focus on entrepreneurship from Clemson University. So thank you, Michael and Allison, for joining. For legal purposes, I'm going to read this next statement verbatim. This presentation is for informational purposes only. It does not constitute legal advice. Please consult with your own legal advice for such counsel, and do not rely on this information without performing your own research. So with that done, I'll walk us through today's agenda. Michael is going to walk us through the traditional freight forwarding process and the difference that the UPS Forwarding Hub can make. Then Michael and Allison will walk us through a couple of demonstrations of the UPS Forwarding Hub, such as the different orientations and languages available, how to use our quoting guided flow, how to book a shipment, how to fill out your paperwork, get tracking information, and reach support. We'll then answer any questions and talk about how to get connected in the future. I will now hand it over to Michael, who's going to walk us through the traditional freight forwarding process.
Thanks, Natalie. Whether you are brand new to air and ocean freight or you're a seasoned professional, I've had the opportunity to talk with lots of customers about the challenges they face in moving their freight with ease. And really, it comes down to 3 main things that they get challenged with. Slow communication. The freight forwarding industry in itself is segmented, and getting an answer usually involves multiple people, whether you're working with the sales resource locally and they have to reach out to the operations team or a pricing component. What happens is they send emails out to the point where customers have had to send emails to not only get an answer for air freight, but for also ocean freight. And this communication style slows down the decision-making for you as a business. And all of it is about you as a business. The other thing that comes up quite frequently when we're working with customers is confusing cost comparisons. If you think about transportation, there's no less than, well, I'm going to back up and talk about a seller and a buyer. If you're a seller, there's 3 different ways that you actually are moving freight. If you're a buyer, there's 3 different ways you're moving freight. And then if you have been introduced to international commodity terms or Incoterms, there's 10 different ways that could influence your cost comparisons. And being able to compare apples to apples in a unique way for you to be able to make all decisions is difficult whenever you're trying to compare options and manage your inventory levels. And the last one, which is varying wait times. In the extremes, we've seen that customers have had to wait weeks in order to be able to get answers to their business decisions. And this has been challenging, particularly as we went through the pandemic time. We saw market conditions that were changing minute by minute. We saw a lack of resources being able to be responding to them. In addition, we saw things that when you think about you trying to run your business, just slow down your ability to make decisions timely and stay informed and educated about the market conditions. And when we talk about giving you resources for you to make decisions, that's what we're trying to do with the UPS Forwarding Hub. So let's talk about how the UPS Forwarding Hub works today. And when we talk about introducing the UPS Forwarding Hub, I want you to think about it like having freight forwarding at your fingertips. Imagine your freight forwarder being in your back pocket. We want to reduce or eliminate the need for you to communicate by enabling online quoting, booking, and tracking. Whether that is from a process standpoint, being able to give you access to your individual relationship with UPS at the touch of a finger, or for you to be able to get answers whenever that really requires more of a customized type of quote. We also want to allow transparency and costs. When we introduce the all modes function that my partner Allison is going to talk with you about, we want you to be able to compare all options that are available to you for you to make really timely decisions about whether or not the cost justifies the air freight, or whether the time in transit and the cost is a better decision to move it ocean freight. With one submission, we want you to make a decision about what you need to do so you can move on and enable your business to succeed. And the last part, which is this market condition component. When we think about the market conditions, we want to be able to serve that up very effectively to you about things that might delay your freight. If you're trying to manage your inventory levels on the UPS Forwarding Hub, our goal is to be able to, for you to see the modes and the estimated transits so that you can make a decision about what your customers' expectations are and how you're trying to plan your inventory, and really be designed about what you need at your fingertips. With that, we're going to transition to the live portion, and I'm going to transfer it over to my partner, Allison, for the demo.
Great. Thanks so much, Michael. I'll go ahead and share my screen so I can show you everything that you can learn about from the Forwarding Hub today. Now, I know we have a little bit of a varied audience here today. Some of you may have used the Hub before. Some of you might be brand new to it. So I'll try to give something for everyone here so you can take away either a new technique or method for using it, or the reassurance that this is the tool for you. So the Hub itself, I saw that the link has been provided in chat. You're welcome to go along with me as we do this, because sometimes that can be best with how we learn. So arriving on the site, you'll see we give a quick demo of, or not a demo, a quick overview of what's available on the site itself. So what we offer in terms of quoting, booking, and tracking, in terms of managing your overall supply chain, be it paperwork, be it getting support, whatever you might need. But we know that many of you freight forwarding professionals typically are in a little bit of a time crunch, so you might want to jump right into the action. And you'll see along the left-hand side here, we offer quick ways to get to that action itself. Now, you can begin here, but truthfully, you're going to have a better experience if you log in or sign up first. Because when you go through the quote, book, and track, you can certainly begin the function, but we're going to ask you to sign in eventually to give you the full robust features available. So that's where we'll navigate up to the top right corner. You can, again, log in or sign up. Along with those items before I show you that process, just want to quickly call out, we do offer translations for the site. So for our global partners here today, we offer in German, simplified Chinese, and Latin American Spanish. So you can certainly go to the page that is best for you to be comfortable in controlling your business. So getting onto the site, I have good news for anyone that already does business with ups.com for small parcel. You can use that exact same login. So one less password to remember, because I know we have a lot these days. So if you already have that, you can begin the login process now. If you don't, or if you can't quite remember if you do, or if your business does, sign up is 4 simple things: your name, your email address, and then a login and password. So it can be done in 30 seconds. It is free, and multiple members of your team can sign up. So perhaps members of your sales team, yourself, your boss, whatever it is that you think is best, everyone can sign up. So we'll go through the login process for now, so we can begin the demonstration. So once you are in and you've signed up, this is a good picture of, I would say, a beginning profile. You'll see we immediately have this tile here that's going to show you what you need to do to really get set up for success. And I think it's critical to emphasize getting set up for success if you are new to the platform. If you're new to UPS Global Freight Forwarding, we're going to help you get that account number moving. If you are perhaps established with UPS Global Freight Forwarding, we want to show you how to link your information that is set up in a good place offline to make sure it connects with that digital profile. Because the site won't immediately know just based on your email address. So make sure you pay attention to linking that account number. Additionally, we give you a little bit of information on starting your address book and setting up your preferences, because getting those logged in now will make it easier so that you don't have to key in as much information later on. So let's go ahead and take a look at what that's like. So the address book is pretty standard. It's going to function like you would expect any of them to, where you can start to put in the company name, location, the address, so that you can pull this in later on. So it's a simple click rather than typing the same thing over and over again. You know that many of you might have some temporary workers that you need to pass tasks off to. So if you set up this digital profile now with that information, it makes it really easy to transition it to someone else. So that can be the same way with your preferences, which you can access up here through the settings icon in the notification bar. You can also access it through your profile, but this is my personal preference. So you can manage your notifications, how frequently you receive emails, or if you don't want to receive them, it can be within the application itself. Then you can get those presets moving. Is there anyone that you want to always receive copies of your quotes as you create them? Perhaps you're a member of the sales team and you want your logistics department to see those copies of quotes. So it's a simple transfer from end to end of those transportation costs. Perhaps you're always going to work with air quoting, or maybe you don't have a preference. You can set it up here. Maybe there's a specific warehouse you're always shipping from, and this is going to auto-populate it for you. Again, we want to make it easy for you to do business, so we recommend starting here. But now for the excitement, let's go through a quote. So I'll go ahead and go to a profile so you can see what it looks like when you've had a little bit of business accumulating over time. We show you those recent quotes, the 3 most recent ones, so it's really quick. Jump back into where you were. Perhaps you need to do a refresh. Perhaps you just wanted to change one thing. Maybe it's 2 pallets instead of 1. It's really simple to pull up a recent quote to show it. Or over time, you can create templates. So it's as simple as clicking use, and it repopulates everything for that typical lane that you're looking at for regular quotes. So we'll go through the all modes section for now. So when you click that, again, it's going to start with where are we shipping to and from. You can enter just a general location, or as you're more established with UPS Global Freight Forwarding, you can go ahead and select from those accounts. So it automatically pulls in that 9-digit account number and the street address. For now, though, we'll just do general locations. You'll see you can start to use that address book, and I'll go ahead and show you what that looks like now. You can select from, again, those linked accounts, or perhaps one that you've already set up. And what's important is it doesn't look like much here, but later on down the road when you want to book it, it makes it much faster for you. And then we'll do the same over here. So the site's going to let you choose either from pickup at door, so that's what this business address item looks like, or you can select just the specific airport report. So I'll show you what that looks like here. And all along the side, you'll notice that it'll start to auto-populate options for you to choose from. So for this one, we'll go with Amsterdam. And along this side, it's going to give you guidance and tips as you go. So again, if you are new to global freight forwarding, it's going to help supplement some of that knowledge so that you feel empowered to make decisions. Going along, you can then select your payment term. Again, since this is an international move, we're going to ask for that Incoterm, and we do provide some guidance on what might be the best option for you. If you have a third party that's going to pay for it, so perhaps the person paying isn't at origin or destination, you can select that account number here after you link it. So for now, we'll go with prepaid, again, giving guidance as you move. And then next we'll get to commodities. And so I've been talking for a little bit. I want to toss it to my partner, Michael Shemp, see, Mike, what are your thoughts on when we're picking the commodity here?
Yeah, so I think there's a couple key pieces. On the right-hand side, we offer guidance on this commodity section because this is a frequently asked question into our support network. So customers will come to us and say, hey, my commodity's not there, or I don't have all my commodities listed there. And on the right-hand side, we say something to the effect that we're not going to be using this commodity to identify it for customs purposes. What we're using this for is to be able to look at the good and try to determine whether or not there's a concern about whether it would be a special consideration or some type of special move. Like common things that happen, there was a question earlier posed about lithium-ion batteries inside equipment. Like that type of question, we want disclosure in this commodity field for us to be able to identify and cost you effectively so that we're able to give you an answer that reflects what the cost of the move is going to be.
Great. Thank you so much, Michael. I appreciate it. So again, like you said, we're just looking for the closest match. It's going to auto-populate some options in a drop-down menu. So pick what is best for you. I'm looking for some auto parts, and you'll see a few different options are going to appear for that. So pick the one that you think is best. So we have a really high level one here that I'm going to choose. Then enter in that cargo value and the currency that you want it to appear in. Next, we'll go into dimensions. You'll see we do have two options for how those will go through to our operators. For this purpose, I will choose pounds and inches. And from here, you're entering in what that typical dimension will be. You can have multiple line items. So let's say I have two, I guess, differing pallets that will need to go into this. So we have one that's only going to be 100 pounds here, and it's a little bit taller. Excuse me. And then you can remove it just as easily. So it will give you that summarized chargeable weight. In the last screen, we're just going to clarify, is this general cargo or is there anything special we need to consider? So I'll click this. The site, again, is always going to try to guide and educate you as you move along. So because I picked auto parts, it just wants to clarify, is this a general commodity or is it something that we need to consider based on gas lines and the information shown here? But I know that my commodity does not have that, so we can move along. But again, we do provide guidance as you move. Lastly, we are so close to getting our quote. I do want to highlight, you can always save this as a template if you know you're going to ask for the same type of quote regularly, because we want to make it easy for you in the long run. So we're submitting. It's going to tap into our backend rating system. And because I selected all modes, it's going to consider both air and ocean. So I don't have to submit two different requests. You'll see here, we have two of our air freight services based on what I've entered. This was a door to airport move. It's also giving me the option to request for ocean. So we have two critical things to highlight here. One, we have our instant rates, which are great, but sometimes the site's going to know, we need to bring in a person to make this rate for you. And that's what this type of form is going to look like, where it's going to ask for a few more details and it'll send it to a person offline to eventually create this quote, provide to you via email. Now for the exciting pieces of the instant rating, we do offer some discounts online because you came to our site and you were willing to give it a chance, but you do have to book online. And if you want to learn a little bit more about that specific rate and what makes it up, we offer that in our details section here. It's going to show, again, all the information that you entered, your unique ID, and you have the option to look at the total charges, or if you want to see how much we're charging perhaps per pound, if it's a flat rate. So all that is available here, and it's dictated and divided up based on the Incoterm that you chose. That's important to remember. You're able to share it with someone else. Perhaps you are a member of the sales team and you need to share this transportation cost with your customer to get their sign off. Maybe your boss needs to see it. Or perhaps the customer's already signed off on this and you want to share it with your warehousing team so they can book the shipment. We have that option here. You can either save it for your own use later on. If you just need to come back and look at it, you can go ahead and share it too. And this will do both functions. So perhaps I already have my auto share. I set that up in my preferences. I always want these two to receive the quotes. But for now, I really want Michael Shemp to have a copy of this. So let me see, is he in my address book? I have Michael Scott, but I don't have Michael Shemp. So it's as simple as creating a new contact here. I can add in his details and how much he can do with that quote. We have different permission levels. If I only want him to view and book it, I can choose that. If I want him to be able to do everything, including seeing my account details and be able to work with shipment documents, I can choose that as well. So very simple to share and make that business happen for you. So that is available. Lastly, what I want to show before turning it over to Mike to show the exciting booking process, we do allow you to add on things like customs brokerage services and insurance. Those are along the side here. And then if you ever, if you don't get to this in time, perhaps you saved it to your dashboard and it has expired after 7 to 14 days, you can re-quote it very easily from your dashboard. So always trying to make it easy so you don't have to re-enter information that you've already entered once. Now, with that, I will turn it over to Michael Shemp to take us through the booking process.
Thanks, Allison. So I'm going to take us through booking, documentation, and how do you get help. So that's going to be the three main things that I'm going to take you through. What I want to do is I want to start by looking at the dashboard, because I think that really ends up being the hub of where you work at. It gives you quick information as far as updates, but you're ready to take action, and we're going to focus on that action that you're going to want to take. So you just saved and saved that and shared it with me, Allison. So you saved and shared it with me. So I'm going to go ahead and now book something on the Forwarding Hub. And Allison did a couple things in her discussion. She started saving things to her address book and saving them to a template. We're going to show you what that means in the booking process and how it builds the foundation for your documentation. So when you're talking about airway bills or SLIs, that's really going to be the foundation of what the booking process does. We do capture the to and from. So when we look at the to, we're going to ask you a couple questions like, is this a residential address? Is there a loading dock available? As an organization, we're using that information to prepare for the pickup. And then when is the cargo ready? With the actual cargo ready date, you have control. You can control when that cargo is going to be ready, which allows you to pre-plan cargo moves. Particularly whenever you are trying to get things out or get them off your plate as a small business, you want to be able to think ahead about when that move is going to be ready, and we'll start coordinating that move. The other things about it is if there's any special comments that you want to do, you can add them in here for the driver to know. We pass that information through to our operations team, but what I really want to focus on is the address book. There's two ways that you use the address book. One is that you can build it while you're going through the process. That way you get to know your customer or your supplier or your shipper very, very well, and it just becomes a pattern that you can repeat. In this example, I used my address book to add a shipper, and it was really, really easy. All I had to do was hit that, and it saved it. If this was the first time that I was doing it, I would have the option to save it in my process. The other thing I want to call out for our larger companies who keep track of matter codes or billing codes or PO numbers, you can add a shipper reference number right here, which is like a PO number, and it would come up on your invoice from UPS so that you would have it in your next stage. I'm going to go ahead and click continue now. As I'm going through, I'm just saving and continuing as I go through the process so I don't have to repeat that. I then come into my demo customer and I already have that information filled out. Down here, I have the information from my address book. The last thing in 3 steps, I'm going to just confirm the charges. There was a question about what all charges are included in my cost. It's a breakdown of those charges. And I want to highlight right here. By checking this, I'm agreeing to the charges. And then here, I'm actually going to have the opportunity to save as a template. And if I save it as a template, it becomes a repeatable lane for me. I'm going to ask Allison to comment about how power users are using the template function today.
Great, thanks so much, Michael. So power users or customers that come to the Forwarding Hub on a regular basis, love to use it for daily pickups. That's a frequent question we get is how can I schedule a pickup? I don't need to go through the full rating process, just want to schedule a pickup. And templates are great for that because once you set it up, it knows who are we shipping to and from. We can already tap into what the service it is that you need. Perhaps it's our economy air freight. Maybe it's just our domestic 3-day service. But you can already have that included. We know who to send it to for origin operations. All you have to do is confirm when is that cargo ready. And so that's what we see from our regular users that just want to come and coordinate that pickup and then connect to our shipping document setup process. As for people that might be a little bit new, the booking template is great if you just want to make quick edits to those booking requests. So maybe you aren't always shipping the same pallet sizes, same commodities. It still have origin and destination saved for you, but you can come in, edit that template day by day to say, well, this is what I'm shipping today. This is the slight difference in dimensions. And it will, again, streamline the information entry process because we know you're busy. You don't need to retype the same thing over and over again. So back to you, Michael.
Great information, Allison. Before I move forward on this actual saving it as a template, I just want to call out one of the things we talk about as a challenge is keeping informed on market updates. And you'll see that during the process of booking my shipment, I could always select this choice here and it would automatically enroll me in an opportunity for us to get email market updates directly in my inbox. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit this save as a template. And what it's going to do is it's going to save it. If I was to come back to the same booking, I'm going to leave now. And this is what really unlocks the power of the quick booking a shipment in 30 seconds or less. you'll see that the shipment is here on my screen, and all I have to do is hit this book a shipment. It takes me to a single form that has all the information that I just went through in the guided process, but saved. If I then do it and I select my cargo ready date as next week, I can book that shipment on 3-day service. Now there is some control, and Allison mentioned this. I can change my pallet size or edit it here on the screen by clicking this edit button. It gives you some flexibility, but it's really about that repetitive lane. And then all I have to do is come to the bottom, check this approval of charges, and as soon as I hit submit, it is sending it to our operations team to get this shipment moving. If it's done before noon in your area, it can be as much quick as the same day service. But with air and ocean freight, it's usually probably the next day before we actually start getting coordinated. With North American air freight, we can get it moving in the same day. You'll notice that on screen, I have a shipment number. And this is where we transition. We built the foundation in the booking, right? Now we have a question about documentation. What documents do I need to get the freight moving? And I want to say that there's 2 different things that you need to know. If you are an importer, if you are bringing goods into the US, this booking is pretty much done. If you are an exporter or a shipper, we're going to talk about those documents that you need to create. If you look right here, we actually have added the shipment number to this booking, but we're going to go ahead and go to where it says create documents online. In most moves, you'll see 3 components of documents that you need. The air waybill. The air waybill is usually the ticket that gets your freight on the plane. Put simply, that's what it is. Because you completed the booking piece online, we've already built out 77% of your air waybill before you got here. It was all that to and from information that you filled out earlier. This allows you to move faster with your business. And if you use the booking templates, it's going to speed that process up even quicker. But you have an option that if you have one, you can either download it here, and I'm just going to point this out. You can download it right there, or you can upload a document that you already have prepared, or you can create the document online. If you click this document, download pre-filled out PDF, we're going to associate the quote number and the booking number or the tracking number directly onto that document. For international moves, this is a very common question about what documents do I generally need for international moves, which is you need the air waybill, or in the US, there's a term called a shipper's letter of instruction, which is commonly referred to as an SLI. Almost all international moves need a commercial invoice. So that is just a standard. You can download a PDF template, or you can upload your business one here. And then the last one is a packing list. A packing list is just what's in the cargo. And if you have a document that you load your packing list on, you can upload it here. Now, a question that comes up here is, will you still need to print and sign something for the cost for the driver? The answer is, yeah. Particularly on international moves, you want an electronic version that's been signed, and you want a physical document in case it gets lost in transit. And that way that we have a backup in order to make sure that your freight moves along the process. So once we actually go through the process of getting the document prep, there's nothing more to do as a shipper. We'll be in contact with you. Our operations team will be in contact. But let's say you don't know what you lost the video of today, you forgot what documents you needed. You're like, hey, that Mike guy had some things that he said, but I can't remember them. That's great. I'd like to direct you to how you get help while you're in the journey. On the right-hand side of your screen, you have this support 24/7. And this support 24/7 is designed to serve up the most frequently asked questions. And I'm just going to go to the watch and learn section. So what shipping forms do I need for international shipments? It's a great video, less than 2 minutes, to cover the basics of documentation and give you some insight on the documents that you need. Do I need a 9-digit account number for UPS forwarding? There's all those things, but if you come up here and you say, hey, I got a tracking question. Oops, helps if I type on the right screen. You just type in track and we'll give you all the results. In the event that this fails to give you the answer, on the left-hand side, you can always access our support team. By clicking on our support team and selecting your region, you can get an answer to your question directly here. Our team's pretty responsive, and they'll give you an answer usually within about 4 hours of the same business day. So far we've covered from getting set up, quoting, booking, tracking, and getting help in Journey. I'm going to transition that over back to my partner, Natalie, to talk about questions that you might have and how we might either be able to demonstrate them live or answer those questions live. So Natalie, I'll transition it back to you.
Thank you so much, Michael. And thanks, Allison, also for walking us through those awesome demonstrations. So we now have some time to ask some questions. And so we have some that were submitted prior to the webinar and some that have been submitted today during the call. So the first question I want to direct is to Allison. Luis on the call asked if we could use the application in Latin America. And I was just wondering, could you go over the languages available and the regions that we service with the UPS Forwarding Hub?
Yes, absolutely. Luis, thank you so much for your question. So yes, on the Forwarding Hub, we do have the translation ability for Latin American Spanish. So if you navigate to the top right corner of your screen, you'll see in kind of the light gray banner that there's a drop-down menu with the option. It's going to translate that page for you. And the site is globally accessible. Anyone in the world can go and find the Forwarding Hub. Again, we do have the link in chat. If you missed it earlier, we will include it in the email as a resource later on, or you can certainly go to your preferred search engine, type in UPS Forwarding Hub, and that's going to help you get to it as well. And everyone here on the call should be able to access it. But certainly, if you run into issues getting to it, you can always reach out to us while we're here on the call today or to our support desk. We can help you get set up with a demo as needed. We do connect to all of our major service points. So if you're worried about I guess the site getting you to a certain location, I would recommend trying to quote. We will provide instant rates where we can. And if it's an instance where maybe it's a service center that we don't have a UPS presence, we'll provide you with that custom quote form so we can at least get you in touch with a person that can help work through that service option for you. So hopefully that answers your question, but if not, Luis, feel free to add another one into the Q&A.
Yes, thanks. Thanks so much, Allison. And Michael, I have a brokerage question for you. So we talked about shipping freight, and someone asked if they could add brokerage services to their shipments in the Forwarding Hub. Could you talk us through that brokerage add-on again?
Yeah, so whenever you're going through the quote process, at the final results page on the left-hand side is the option to add the brokerage charges. And that does cover standard brokerage fees, like where we have service available. So
Perfect.
Great question.
Awesome.
And Natalie, if I may on that one, just to give a little more information for our audience about brokerage services. So yeah, you can come in and select from that left-hand side. So when you're looking at your rate screen, that's where it's going to show our market rates. For anyone that has been using our brokerage services and perhaps you already have a negotiated brokerage rate, don't have that online for you right away. We can certainly talk through how to make sure you're getting the service and rates that you expect to see. And on the flip side, if UPS is not your preferred broker, I highly recommend using your My Preferences section, because what you can do is go ahead and set up your preferred broker contact information. So it always populates when you're setting up those international bookings. You don't have to re-enter it over and over again.
Awesome. Thanks, Allison. That was super helpful. Another question for you, Allison. Jay Deep on the call was wondering if there are multiple users using one UPS SCS account number, will they get access to all the quotes being done on that account?
That is a great question. So I think it actually goes into that digital profile specifically. So if everyone is linking that one account number to the same profile, everyone that's logging in with that same ID and email address, they'll be able to see the behavior, the quotes, the bookings of everyone that's logged in on that same account. Now, if everyone has their own user ID, email address, and log into the Forwarding Hub, but they're linking that same account, they would not see the quotes everyone is generating. They would, however, see tracking automatically. So a nice benefit of linking your GFF account number is when you navigate to that tracking button on the left-hand side, it's going to show automatically any shipment that's in transit for that account number, whether it was booked online or offline. So I would say, in summary, if you are on your own personal login, you're only going to see your quotes, but you'll be able to see the movement of shipments that other people are booking against that account number.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Now, Michael, you talked about how the forwarding hub was in line with the market conditions. Can you talk to us about how often those rates get updated?
Yeah, I'm not sure if I can say how often. I think that it's weekly, but I might need Allison to verify that. Is that accurate, Allison?
Absolutely, I can help you out with that one.
Yep.
So the rates that we pull through on the forwarding hub are linked to the exact same rating systems that our operators and our pricing desks are using as well. So when they are going through and making their updates, maybe it's to a pre-negotiated pricing agreement, or if it's to our regular rates, that same information is being sourced into the forwarding hub, because we know it's important to have a central source of truth. So those key per kilogram rates, that's what we're sourcing in. Now, in terms of validity on the forwarding hub, so if you create a quote and you save it, currently it's going to last for 7 days before we ask you to re-quote it or retry it. Now, we are looking to update that probably as soon as next week, if I'm being frank, where it will be 14 days for many services, where you could have 14 days to make a decision on the forwarding hub quote.
The only thing I would add to that is that when we talk about ocean rates, the validity tends to be on the 30-day side at this point. Yeah, thanks, Allison.
Sure thing.
Thanks, y'all. Michael, I have a question for you regarding lithium batteries. Does UPS GFF, do we ship lithium batteries, and what's needed to get that shipment moving?
Yeah, so the answer is yes. We do move lithium-ion batteries. I would tell you that most times the answer to your question is very, very complicated because it depends on the regional requirements and the IATA guidelines, which the IATA is the International Air Transportation Association. But in many cases, you need something called a dangerous goods disclosure form and a drop test document, depending on what you actually need. What I would recommend you do is schedule a one-on-one session. Let's talk about your specific commodity and really dig into what we're trying to move to make sure it makes sense.
Awesome. I think this question probably be best for Allison. Jake on the call asked, does the international rating tool recognize oversized items, or is there anything that a customer should be aware of?
Great question, Jake. So yes, the site is going to see if a dimension is either too long, too tall, or if the overall weight is more than the site should handle. And so it typically is going to differ per origin. So if it's coming out of the Asia Pacific region, it's going to go up to about 10,000 kilos in terms of weight. So you have some good, I would say, flexibility for what we're going to return an instant rate for. However, it's about between 2,000 and 4,000 kilos for other regions. So just know if that's the particular weight where it's going to send it offline, and you're going to just have a person maybe chime in on what that exact rate should be. Now, in terms of dimensions, we can send out some of those details later on. But I would say in general, it needs to fit on a typical plane. So if it's above 60 inches, that's usually going to send it offline. So height is a big deal. Length and width, that can differ, again, per service center. And the site's going to tell you. Ultimately, if you enter in something and you submit a rate and it says custom form, it's going to tell you if it's too tall, it's oversized, too volumetric. In those instances, if you're like, well, maybe I'll adjust my pallet size or I'll adjust it so that I can get that instant rate, what you can do is go back to that key quoting, I guess the start page for quoting, use that recent quote capability. It's going to pull back up all those details for you one more time. It's going to make it easier for you to re-quote or re-enter that pallet information. So you don't have to rekey it all again. You can sort of see what are the height differentials, weight differentials I can work with to get that instant rate.
Okay, awesome. And a quick follow-up question regarding rates and maybe negotiated rates. If a customer has pre-negotiated rates, are those valid? Will they show on the UPS forwarding hub?
Great question. They absolutely will. But it is key to make sure that you link the account number. So I was showing on that first screen where it has the little 0 out of 3 modal. Make sure it shows definitely 1 out of 3 for linking your account number. And it'll walk you through those 2 steps. It's a one-time setup to link your account number. Just want to ask you some security questions. So not everyone can do it. But then it's when you're quoting it, I'd emphasized you can pull from your account numbers, either at origin, destination, or as a third-party payer. make sure it's in one of those 3 fields, because that's what tells our rating engine to look for your pricing agreement. So it needs to be connected at one of those 3 points to make sure it pulls through. And that rate card is going to show negotiated rate underneath in blue ink to verify that those are your rates.
Well, awesome. Trying to look through all of our questions. Thanks for sending them in, y'all. This is great. Want to address one question I've been seeing multiple times is, will you get a recording of this webinar? Yes, we will send it out to you in a post-event email, so just be on the lookout tomorrow for that link. I'm looking through. Oh, Allison, would you mind maybe sharing your screen again and talking us through the ocean quoting process? We had a couple questions on going over that process once more.
Absolutely. So let me get that queued back up.
Thanks.
So we do, first off, to answer it, we do offer ocean rating on the forwarding hub. So it would be a very similar process. You're going into the quote screen. If you don't want to choose all modes, you want to specify FCL versus LCL, that's where you would differentiate there. So what I'll go ahead and do is we'll look at FCL. It's a slightly different entry form than what I showed you previously with all modes. So it's still going to be the same information for entering a location or selecting from your account. So again, that's where you pull in your GFF account number to access your negotiated rates. You would enter those details here. So very quickly, we'll do a port-to-port shipment so you can see what that looks like. So entering those details here. You'll notice that when I do port to port, what it's going to do is look at a shorter list of our various ports that are available. And for this one, we'll go ahead and ship to Italy. So I'm looking at Florence. It's going to pull up that ocean ramp that we would access to ultimately get it to Florence. And again, you'll see over here, we do offer access to our global directory in case you aren't sure what is the closest ramp that I need to work with at either origin or destination. Continuing on, again, it's those same payment term screens that you can look at. We do have ocean-specific Incoterms for those that aren't familiar. It's going to show those where it's necessary. So typically at collect, it's going to show FAS, something that's a little more typical for ocean shipping. And then again, that third party, and again, since the question was asked, I just want to emphasize again, this is where you can link your account number to pull in your information. Now, I do want to clarify, we show negotiated rates for any air shipment today. We are still developing the ability to pull in ocean negotiated rates. That is anticipated to come out in June. Because I do want to highlight, it is an ever-evolving website. We're always looking for feedback from you, our customers, our users, to see how we can improve it. And so that's something coming soon in June. And continuing on. Again, you're going to still pick that commodity type. The only difference being that you're going to look at a container size this time around. So we'll show ones that you've recently selected, and that does show standard equipment that you can choose from, as well as any special equipment that you might need. So we have a lengthy list there, depending on what you need for FCL specifically. So pick an option. Again, same sorts of tooltips that you're seeing along the side. We'll just pick one dry container here. And we start to give information. So this was a tip that we weren't able to show previously. It shows sort of how we educate for the ocean FCL guidance. And then same information of what we do for general cargo, and then submit. And so it's going to look into our rating system. You'll see what we have here for FCL for that port-to-port lane. So it shows where we're stopping over en route. And then it's this shows where you're going to pick up at destination, where you're dropping off. It's that same sort of layout of showing. We can look at the details, what it's going to cost us. We do show those per unit charges, again, always critical to see. And then you can still add in brokerage charges or insurance, and you can save and share and proceed with booking. So hopefully that answered those questions. Very similar process for LCL, just you're entering in pallets as opposed to a container type.
Thank you so much, Allison, for going over that once more. That was awesome. And that is all the time that we have for questions. So I want to say, if you would like to request a one-on-one tutorial of the UPS forwarding hub for your business, please be on the lookout for this request form that will be emailed out along with the recording of today's webinar following today. We want to thank you all for taking time out of your busy day to join us for this webinar. We look forward to connecting with you all in the future. If you'd like to sign up to be alerted for other events such as this one in the future, please add your information to the link that is going to be added in the chat so that you can stay informed for all of your business's needs. Thank you, everyone.